Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's video, we got a couple of things to discuss, including a signing over in Anaheim. We've got a couple of training camp updates, so a couple of players who have been cut from training camp. We've got a couple of PTO releases. We've got a couple of waiver news, and we've also got some more injury updates. And we've got some trade rumors here to discuss as well, including the Tampa Bay Lightning, Montreal Canadiens, Ottawa Senators, and a possible trade that we could see at later points into the season or next year between the LA Kings and the Boston Bruins. We'll go to all that coming up right now. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here at the Internet Talking Channel. Now, as usual, I'm going to kick things off today by discussing a couple of signings that have happened over the past couple of days. The only signing that's happened over the past couple of days happened yesterday morning, and that is that the Anaheim Ducks and Trevor Zegras have finally come to terms on a contract extension. It's been a while. There's been a lot of struggles with negotiations. We talked a week and a half ago that Zegras was only being offered about $3 to $4 million. We said that was low. He was being lowballed. We said that was it sounded like Zegras was being frustrated. I'm sure he was. It sounded like there could be possibly some trade rumors picking up around Zegras if he couldn't sign. But he did eventually sign. Zegras signs a 3-year deal with the AAV of $5.75 million. To me, this is pretty good value for Anaheim. Zegras is definitely worth $5.75 million. I could have seen Zegras try and push for maybe a $6.57 million AAV. But at $5.75, he'll definitely be able to live up to this deal. He's a fantastic forward, very skilled, the leader of that franchise in my opinion. He's a very fantastic young player. So at 5.75, I think the Ducks really got a win here, getting him at that contract. I thought he would have gotten at least $6, if not $7 million on a new deal. So I don't think that AAV of $5.75 million is too much. Zegras can play on the wing. He can play center. He's a very versatile forward. He's the face of the franchise. He fits in the top 6. He's had back-to-back 23-goal seasons. He's also had back-to-back 60-plus point seasons. So, all in all, Zegras is a really good player. He should definitely live up to this contract. I do wonder if this contract, the length of the negotiations, will have any sort of implications on his next contract, and if that one's going to be hard as well. But at least they got this bridge deal done. A lot of people did think it was going to be a bridge deal, and it does wind up being a bridge deal. So, Zegras gets signed 3 years. $5.75 million, in my opinion. I think Zegras should definitely be worth this. I thought he would have gone a little bit more. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. Is this a little bit low for Zegras? Do you think Zegras could have gotten $6 million or $7 million on a new deal? I think it's possible that he could have gotten at least 6, if not 7. So I think the 5.75 that he signs with the Anaheim Ducks is a real good steal for Anaheim. So all in all, in my opinion, that was a solid deal for the Ducks. So Zegras is going to be able to join the Ducks before the season starts, which is good. He'll be able to get a little bit of training camp under his feet before training camp ends the next weekend. So it's going to be interesting to see, but it was a huge win for the Ducks to get that done, and they now have their star top 6 forward, the face of the franchise, signed, and he should be ready to go for the beginning of the season. So a really good job there for the Ducks to get this done. Like I said, I think it's a little bit lower than I thought, but I think Zegras is definitely worth $5.75 million. So the Zegras contract's done. We're now down to only 3 RFAs. The Sens, who still need to sign Shane Pinto. We'll get to that in a little while here. Anaheim Duck teammate of Trevor Zegras' Jamie Drysdale also needs a new deal. It sounds like he's probably the next one for the Anaheim Ducks. And then young defenseman Tim Bernie from the Columbus Blue Jackets still needs a new deal. Bernie was a depth defenseman from the Columbus Blue Jackets who got a little bit of playing time last year due to injuries, and I still don't know why he hasn't signed yet. So those are the only 3 RFAs that are still unsigned, so we're going to have to wait and see if we can get another RFA signing or 2 over the next couple of days as we get closer and closer to the start of the season. Going over to a couple of roster updates. Now, first going to talk about all the players that were cut from training camp, but didn't need to go on waivers and weren't released from their PTO. So these are just the guys who were sent to either juniors or minors. There's been a long list over the past 3 days of players who have been sent down. So I'll just give you some of the more prominent names from all of those players who were sent down. The Anaheim Ducks sent Gage Alexander, Ben King, Blake McLaughlin, and Drew Hellison all to the minors. The Arizona Coyotes sent Maverick Lamoureux to the QMJHL. He was a former first-round pick a couple of years ago. And then they also sent Connor Geekie to the WHL, first-round pick that same year. And then they sent Josh Doan, Milos Kellerman, Michael Kesselring, Vladislav Kolyashinok, Ben McCartney, and Nathan Smith all to the AHL. So the Coyotes had sent some players down to the AHL. Boston sent John Farinacci to the AHL. Buffalo sent Vyacheslav Komarov to the AHL. The Chicago Blackhawks sent Antti Sorella, Nolan Allen, Drew Comesso, Louis Crevier, Ethan Del Maestro, Philip Roos, and Brett Sini to the AHL, as well as sending Paul Ludwinski and Gavin Hayes to the OHL. So they sent a couple of guys down. The Dallas Stars sent Artyom Grushinikov, Christian Kyrou, Matt Murray, Scott Reedy, Matthew Semenoff, Antonio Strangers, and Gavin White to the AHL. The Edmonton Oilers sent Noel Hoffenheimer. They also sent Oliver Rodrigue, Carter Savoy, Carl Berglund, and Tyler Tullio to the AHL. The Florida Panthers sent Matt Guzda, Kai Schwind, Skylar Brindamore, Michael Benning, Ryan McAllister, Evan Nouse, and Callie Shallan to the AHL, as well as sending Liam Arnsby to the OHL. The LA Kings sent Cohen Ziemer to the WHL, while sending Martin Chromiak, Samuel Hellenius, Francesco Pinelli, and Eric Portillo to the AHL. The Minnesota Wild sent Adam Beckman, Ryan O'Rourke, and Carson Lambos to the AHL. The Montreal Canadiens moved a lot of players down, sending Owen Beck back to the OHL, while sending Philip Misar, Jan Mishak, Joshua Roy, Xavier Simoneau, Ty Smilanic, Jaden Struble, Steve Farrell, Riley Kidney, and William Trudeau to the AHL, as well as sending 5th overall pick from this past year's draft, David Reinbarker, back to the National League. The Nashville Predators signed Igor Afanaseyev, Anthony Angelo, Joaquin Kamel, Zachary LaRue, Reed Schaefer, Fedor Svechkov, Jasper Weatherby, Jake Livingstone, Jordan Gross, Luke Prokop, Yaroslav Askarov, and Troy Grosnick to the AHL. The New Jersey Devils sent Michael Vukocevic to the AHL. The New York Rangers sent Adam Sikora, Brett Berard, Dylan Garand, Mitch Rempe, Matthew Robertson, and Matt Caldwell to the AHL. The Ottawa Senators sent Cole Reinhardt, Kevin Mandolese, Tyler Clevin, and Zach Ostapchuk to the AHL. The Philadelphia Flyers sent Ollie Lykesell to the AHL. The St. Louis Blues assigned Leo Loof, the Baton brothers, both Sam and Will, Wyatt Kalyanuk, and Matthew Pekka to the AHL. The Tampa Bay Lightning sent Cole Kopik, Daniel Walcott, Devontae Stevens, Felix Roberts, Gabriel Dumont, Hugo Allenfelt, Jack Finley, Jack Thompson, Lucas Edmonds, Maxime Groshev, Felipe Myers, and Sean Day to the AHL. The Toronto Maple Leafs sent Nick Abrugier, Ronnie Hirvonen, Topai Niemela, Dmitry Ovechnikov, Ryan Teverberg, William Villanueva, and Ty Voigt to the AHL. The Vancouver Canucks sent Artur Silovs, Akito Heroes, Aiden McDonough, Josh Bloom, Linus Carlson, Vasily Podkolzin, Atu Ratu, and Danila Klimovic to the AHL. The Vegas Golden Knights sent Yuri Patera and Mason Morelli to the AHL. The Washington Capitals sent Alexander Suzdalev, Brian Triniev, Mitchell Gibson, Hunter Rybinski, Chase Prisky, and Riley Sutter to the AHL, while the Winnipeg Jets sent Brad Lambert, Daniel Torgerson, Nikita Chibrikov, Simone Lundmark, Chaz Lucius, Christian Reichel, Ilya Salomonson, Daniel Zhilkin, Artyom Kinazayev, and Thomas Milic to the AHL, while sending Corey Barlow back to the OHL. So a lot of send-downs and players to going to minors or juniors. So those are all some of the more significant names. There were other names as well, players getting released off of amateur tryouts, getting sent back to like juniors, being sent to other places. So there were some more other ones over the past couple of days, but those are some of the more significant ones the last couple of days. So those are some really good names that have signed over the past couple of days with other teams. Now here, we're going to go over the waiver news next. So, like I said, there's a ton of waiver news over the past couple of days. A lot of waiver updates that have happened over the past 4 days that we haven't gone around to. So when we talked on Saturday, we said that there were a handful of players who were placed on waivers on Friday. We did not disclose who had gone through waivers and cleared yet. So we're going to go through all the players who cleared waivers over the past 3-4 days, and then we're going to discuss who was claimed. So first, Keaton Middleton, Spencer Smallman in Colorado, Alex Belzile, Tanner Bleed, Turner Elson, Connor Mackey, Riley Nash in New York, Tyler Wotherspoon in New Jersey, and Adam Gaudette in St. Louis were all placed on waivers on Friday and cleared on waivers on Saturday, so they are all okay and were sent down to their minor league affiliates. The Buffalo Sabres sent Devin Cooley, Justin Richards, Dustin Tokarski on waivers on Saturday. The Oilers sent Drake Caggiula and Greg McKegg on waivers on Saturday. The Montreal Canadiens sent Nicholas Budin, Lucas Condata, Brady Keeper, and Mitchell Stevens on waivers on Saturday. The Nashville Predators sent Anthony Angelo, Kevin Gravel, Troy Grosnick, Jordan Gross on waivers on Saturday. The New York Rangers sent Jake Lecisions down on Saturday. The Ottawa Senators placed Josh Curry, Dylan Hetherington, and Garrett Pilon on waivers on Saturday. The Vegas Golden Knights sent Brian Froese, Mason Gertson, Dyson Mayo, Gage Quinney, Sheldon Rempel, and Jonas Romberg on waivers on Saturday, and all of them cleared on Sunday. So there was a lot of players who were placed on waivers over those days, and most of them cleared. So some really good things there. On Sunday, there was a handful more of players who were put on waivers. The Ducks assigned Trevor Carrick on waivers. Bruins put Michael DiPietro on waivers. Jeremy Davies and Joseph Sessione in Buffalo were placed on waivers. Dave Goost, Mike Hartman, and Brett Seney were placed on waivers by the Blackhawks. The LA Kings placed Kevin Connaughton, Joe Hicketts, Hayden Hodgson, Mikhail Maltsev, Jacob Mouvrer, Steven Santini, Akil Thomas, and TJ Tynan all on waivers. The Minnesota Wild sent Stephen Fogarty, Jake Lucchini, Nick Swanee, and Zay McIntyre on waivers. The Montreal Canadiens sent Elias Anderson and Philippe Millette on waivers. The New York Rangers sent Louis Domingue and Mac Hollowell on waivers. The St. Louis Blues put Will Baton, Matthew Pekka, Hugh McGing, and Wyatt Kalynuk on waivers. The Tampa Bay Lightning put Mitchell Chaffee, Sean Day, and Felipe Myers on waivers. The Canucks put Sheldon Dries, Jet Wu, Jack Rathbone, Matt Irwin, Zachary Sawchenko on waivers. The Winnipeg Jets put Jeff Malott, Christian Reichel, Dominic Tornado, and Austin Sautner on waivers. And the Washington Capitals put Riley Sutter and Chase Prisky on waivers. All of those guys cleared on Monday afternoon. So all of those guys wound up being cleared, and they were sent to their minor league affiliates. A couple of surprises, in my opinion, were like Jack Rathbone, Akil Thomas, Jacob Mouvrer, Louis Domingue, guys who I could have seen be taken. So I'm a little bit surprised that those guys wound up being claimed. On top of those guys, Glenn Gaudin in Anaheim, Travis Barad in Arizona, Kevin Crotty in Arizona, Jan Janik, Stephen Kampfer, Justin Kirkland, John Leonard, Ryan McGregor, and Matt Villalta, all in Arizona. The Boston Bruins put Kyle Keyser on waivers. The Calgary Flames assigned Clark Bishop, Oscar Dansk, Ben Jones, and Colin Pullman on waivers. The Colorado Avalanche assigned Wyatt Amadot and Corey Schooneman on waivers. The Dallas Stars assigned Gavin Bayreuther, Nicholas Camano, Frederick Karlstrom, and Derek Pouliot on waivers. The Florida Panthers put Rasmus Asplund, Lucas Carlson, and Jared Mayhew on waivers. The New Jersey Devils assigned Kyle Coolio on waivers. And the Philadelphia Flyers sent Louis Belpedio, Adam Brooks, Ray Gardner, Cooper Marody, and Victor Mete all on waivers. Now, those guys we don't know the answers to, if they have cleared or not. At this point in time of the recording of this video, I have not found out if they had cleared waivers or not. We haven't reached the hour where we would know yet. So, at this point in time, those are just all the players that were placed on waivers yesterday. We'll still need to find out who gets claimed later today and who's going to be on waivers tomorrow. We do know a couple, including a couple of significant ones in Ottawa that will be going on waivers today, including Jacob Bernard Docker and Igor Soklev, which is a bit surprising to me. I thought both those guys would make the NHL roster for the Senators. So I'm quite surprised they're going on waivers, and those are going to be interesting names to watch out for when we get to waivers on Wednesday. So going to be interesting to see there. But over those 3 days in the 4 sections of waiver news, we did have 4 waiver claims, which is quite surprising, especially early on in the season. So first, on Saturday, with all those guys that were cleared waivers, the San Jose Sharks picked up Ty Emberson from the New York Rangers, claimed him off of waivers. On top of all the guys that cleared waivers on Sunday, Lassi Thomson, who, like we talked about on Saturday, was probably one of the bigger names going into Sunday, who could be picked up. He was picked up by the Anaheim Ducks. And then yesterday, after all those other guys who have cleared, Samuel Fagemo, who was a decent high-end pick from the LA Kings a couple of years ago, and Jansen Harkins was a decent bottom six forward, are both claimed off of waivers. Fagemo by the Preds and Harkins by the Pittsburgh Penguins. So all in all, I think those were some pretty good pickups. Ty Emberson has little to no NHL experience, so I don't know exactly why the Sharks picked him up. He has looked really well in the AHL, and I could see him be a fantastic fit on like a third pair for a team in San Jose who does not have an overly great blue line, so that was a decent pickup there. Lassi Thomson's a former first-round pick of the Ottawa Senators. He looked like he was going to do really well. Like I said, he had a really good training camp. A lot of people were surprised Thomson was placed on waivers, and the Ducks, I think, are going to be a fantastic fit for him. They needed another right-shot defenseman who could work in their system for the time being. Thomson should be a really fantastic third-pair defenseman, in my opinion. He's going to be a fantastic fit. Still don't exactly know why the Sens waived him. There's been some thought they could have even traded him instead of waiving him, but he's waived. He's in Anaheim now. He should be a fantastic third-pair defenseman there. Fagemo in Nashville, that could be a really good addition. The Preds, we know, have a younger, weaker forward group, so getting a younger guy who could definitely work in their like third line in Fagemo, I think, is a fantastic addition for Nashville. Well, Harkins is a cheap bomb six option for a Penguins team who needs a couple more bodies with Gensel being out to start the season. So definitely, all in all, I think really good. We've had a couple of waiver claims in Emberson to San Jose, and Townsend to Anaheim, and Fagemo to Nashville, and in Harkins to Pittsburgh. I'm sure we'll see some more waiver claims over the next couple of days. It'll be interesting to see who clears waivers later today and who has to go sent down to the minors. And of today's guys, I'd say Jan Jenik in Arizona, I'd say Gavin Bayruth are in Dallas, and I'd say Rasmus Asplund in Florida are the three players to watch out for. And it'll be interesting to see over the next few days what else happens on waivers. So that's the waiver update we want to get to here today. A quick PTO update for some of these other players. Since we last talked, there have been 4 players more who have been released from their PTOs. Some were surprising, some were not. The first 2 were surprising, and that is Brandon Sutter in Edmonton and Alex Chiasson in Boston. Chiasson in Boston, I thought, would have at least gotten a contract with the Bruins. He's done pretty well over the past little while as being a solid bomb six forward, so I am a bit surprised that the Bruins did release Alex Chiasson. He seems like a good bomb six forward. He looked really good. He could have been a decent second power play unit type player. I think he did really well, so I'm not sure if Chiasson will get another chance in another NHL city, but he has been released off of PTO from Boston and will not be continuing on a PTO there with their training camp. Brandon Sutter has been released from his PTO from Edmonton. That was more of his decision. After playing, he said that his health was probably not there. He decided to himself that he doesn't want to continue this, so he basically said that he's going to retire. So Brandon Sutter has retired from the NHL after a long career with teams like the Penguins, the Canes, and the Canucks. So we wish him all the best in retirement. Just really bad to see that he wasn't able to keep up with playing for another season. But he was out for a long time due to the long COVID stuff. So definitely really hurt him, and hopefully he is really good in retirement, but Sutter could not turn his PTO into a two-way contract, so he's now gone. And then 2 more less surprising names that were let go off of a PTO was John Francis Berube, who was let go of a PTO in LA, and Christopher Gibson, who was let go of a PTO in Dallas. Both guys are at best third-string goaltenders, so I'm not overly surprised that those 2 did not get two-way NHL contracts. Both could wind up getting maybe a contract elsewhere, or they maybe could try and get an AHL-only contract, so it's going to be interesting to see, but I don't find it too surprising that Christopher Gibson and John Francis Berube are not going to be getting new contracts. So going to be interesting to see, but those are the updates there for the PTOs. We're up to 14 players now who have now been released off of their PTOs. Quite a big number so far, but like I said, we're only going to get probably like between 8 and 12 players who went to training camp on PTO, signed new deals, and all of them will be right away. So going to be interesting to see, but I don't think it's too surprising we're seeing some more players be released off of PTOs. I think Chiasson could get another shot somewhere else on a one-year deal maybe. I could see that, but Sutter's retired, and I don't see Gibson or Berube most likely getting another opportunity at the NHL level right now. So, going to be interesting to see, but those are your PTO updates as we've hit, I think, 14 players who have been released off of their PTOs. It's a long list, and it's going to continue to get longer. So can't wait to see which other players on PTOs are going to be released, which ones are going to be able to stave off being released and sign a two-way NHL contract. Going over to a couple of injury updates from around the NHL. Most of these are good news. There are a couple of players who have had bad news. First, the Philadelphia Flyers' Cam York has been cleared to play, as has Islanders defenseman Alex Romanov. Chicago Blackhawks forward Philip Kurashev has a wrist injury and is out day-to-day. Anaheim Ducks forward Alex Killorn is going to be out the next 5 weeks with a finger injury, so Killorn's going to miss the start of the season, probably the first month of the season, so a really bad blow for the Ducks there. Connor Timmins has a lower body injury. He's currently listed as week to week, which is really bad. Timmins suffered an injury. He looked like one of the Leafs' best defensemen, so to lose him, he has an injury history. It's really, really bad. Hopefully he can get back in the not-too-distant future, but there's some concern that it could be a bit of a longer-term injury, so really bad for Timmins. Hopefully he can recover from that, and when he gets back, he continues to play a really good third-pair role. The St. Louis Blues have Christian Cairo, who's been cleared to play, sitting with the Golden Knights, and Leighton Hawk. The Winnipeg Jets have declined Chiasson out day-to-day with a lower body injury. Lucas Edmonds has been cleared to play by the Tampa Bay Lightning. Jack Finley has undisclosed injuries, going to be out for an unknown period of time in Tampa. Robert Fabry has an upper body injury. He's out day-to-day right now. Liam Bichel's been cleared to play in Dallas. Nikita Chibrikov's been cleared to play in Winnipeg. Chicago, Samuel Savoy has a leg injury, a really gruesome leg injury that was suffered in one of the Blackhawks' previous preseason games. He was stretchered off. It seems like he's probably going to be out for the rest of the season. He's out for an unknown period of time at this point in time. The St. Louis Blues had Kasperi Kapanen, Justin Falk, and Torrey Krug all cleared to play, so all should be back now. The Toronto Maple Leafs, Ty Voigt, as well as Braden Kressler, have been cleared to play. Winnipeg Jets forward Danny Zhilkin's been cleared to play. Sens forward Zach Ostapchuk's been cleared to play. Jets forward Cole Perfetti's been cleared to play. Florida Panthers forwards Carter Verhaeghe and Sam Bennett have been cleared to play. Sens forward Brady Tkachuk's been cleared to play. Montreal Canadiens players Alex Newhook, Yoel Armia, and Gustav Lindstrom all have upper body injuries and are out day-to-day right now, so hopefully they're not out for an overly long period of time. And then Alex Vlasic and Jacob Zboril have also been cleared to play as well. So not as many injury updates as we've had over the past couple of days. Most of them are good. Those players that were out day-to-day are getting healthier and getting ready for the start of the season, so they're getting back into game action. And it seems like most of these guys are starting to get healthier. So some really, really good things there to see all these players get healthier, get back into game action, and for most of these guys, it's really, really good to see all these guys get back. For Killorn, really bad break for him and the Ducks. Hopefully he's not out for the entire month of October and he can get back in the last couple of days, but he's most likely going to miss the first month of the season. Timmins had a really good training camp. Hopefully he can get back and he's still really good after he recovers from his injury, and he can continue to be a good third pair defenseman. So going interesting to see, but those are two really big injuries. The rest of them are all basically day-to-day injuries or players who have come back from injuries. So going interesting to see, but those are some interesting injury updates there from the NHL. And that's all the roster updates I want to get to today. And now, lastly, here, going over to a couple of trade rumors. First, with the Montreal Canadiens and Tampa Bay Lightning. There have been a couple of reports recently I've seen that have said that the Montreal Canadiens are a little bit concerned putting Cam Primeau on waivers. At the current point in time, they were able to move Casey DeSmith, so he's gone. So their four-headed monster in net is gone. But they still have three really good goaltenders. They have Samuel Montembeault, who's a really, really good NHL-level starter. They have Jake Allen, who's still signed for the next couple of years at over $3 million cap hit. And they have young goalie Cam Primeau, who looks all right at times. At one point was viewed as the goalie of the future. It's iffy to see if he's the goalie of the future anymore. But apparently the Canadiens do believe that if they were to place Cam Primeau on waivers, which he's now eligible for, he will not clear. So it sounds like they are okay with going with three goaltenders right now. They'd be willing to go to that, even though it's not an ideal situation for them. But it also sounds like they might be willing to make a trade. So it sounds like possibly they could look to move maybe Cam Primeau. Montembeau is not getting moved. They really do like Montembeau. And Allen, I think they would love to move Allen, but a $3 million cap would make it extremely hard for a team to take his cap hit on. So I really don't know if Allen is a tradable asset at this point in time. So they may look to try and move Primeau to at least get an asset for him instead of placing him on waivers and not getting anything for him. So I'd be definitely willing to see if there's interest in Primeau. The main concern for the Canadiens, if they were to place Primeau on waivers, would be Tampa Bay Lightning, given the fact they're looking for some goaltending help. So maybe they could work out a trade. I think Primeau could definitely be the short-term option in Tampa until Vasilevsky gets back. He hasn't looked overly fantastic the past couple of years, but he's a decent goaltender. He's a young goaltender. He could definitely work as Vasilevsky's backup once he gets back. So I could see the Canadiens and Bolts try and work out a trade here to get Primeau to Tampa. I think it's possible. I think the Canadiens would rather keep Primeau, but I think if they were have to lose him on waivers, they would rather make a trade with a team like a Tampa than losing him on waivers. Another team that comes to mind would be the Colorado Avalanche, given the fact they're looking for a cheap goaltender right now who could help in the short term. So I'd definitely be looking for the Canadiens to possibly make a move, most likely with Primeau. I think they could try and look to move Allen first, but with the cap hit, I don't really think there would be a lot of interested parties. So I think there's definitely a lot of options there for the Canadiens. And I think that there's going to be a likely trade in the not too distant future. So definitely keep your eye on Montreal, as they'll probably try and... They could run with 3 goaltenders, but I think there could be a trade that happens before the season starts. So definitely going to be interesting to see there. With the Ottawa Senators and Shane Pinto, it sounds like contract negotiations are not going overly well right now. Over the weekend, Elliot Friedman said that the Ottawa Senators had offered a 1x1 deal to Shane Pinto, trying to sign him for 1 year at $1 million, and then sign him to a longer-term, more lengthy deal later. Pinto was not very happy with that, apparently. It just sounds like the Senators were trying to see if there was any way they could sign him with the cap space they have right now without having to make a trade. I think it was pretty alright for the Senators to do that, given the fact that they're in a tight cap situation, but it sounds like Pinto was not really wanting to do that. And now, according to Elliot Friedman, it sounds like they're a little bit far apart on contract negotiations. Pinto values himself right around $2.5 million, whereas the Senators view more as around the Morgan Frost AAV, which is $2.1 million. So they're about $400,000 off on negotiations. I think there's an ability there to bridge the gap. I think they could definitely work something out to sign him. Apparently, according to Elliot Friedman and the sources he's talked to, Pierre Dorion is not afraid or worried about making a trade. He's definitely open to doing that if it frees enough cap space. It just seems like at this point in time there's not close enough on a contract to pull off a trade. So it's definitely interesting to see. I think they were smart to try and offer Pinto the 1x1. I know he's not worth that, but they got to at least try. On top of that, Pinto's a really good player. Maybe he was going to accept, so they ask him. It doesn't work. It's not that big of a deal. But I think they'll probably have to sign him to around $2.3, $2.4, $2.5 million on a 1 to 2 year deal if they were going to sign him at some point this offseason. So it's going to be interesting to see. I still think, as I mentioned on Saturday, it's either Joseph or Brandstrom. I know Kubalik and Zub have been mentioned in the past, but I don't see those two guys being moved. I think it's most likely going to be either Brandstrom or Joseph who gets moved by the Ottawa Senators. I think that's probably the most likely scenario. It's going to be either Joseph or Brandstrom. It sounds like there could be another team in San Jose who's interested in taking on Joseph. They have the cap space to do it. I'm not sure where Joseph would fit on the Sharks roster, but there would be another team who would be interested along with Philadelphia. So it seems like a couple of bomb dweller teams will be interested in taking on Joseph. It just seems like the Sens will have to make it worth their while. So going to be interesting to see, but it sounds like Pinto and Ottawa are a little bit far apart on their contract negotiations right now. So that's a really problematic thing for the Sens and the Pinto, and it sounds like the Sens are not overly concerned with making a trade, and Joseph may be the guy to go. So definitely interesting to see. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. And lastly here, I'm going to touch on a possible trade between LA Kings and Boston Bruins. Now, this isn't something that's been speculated or being announced in trade rumors or things. This is just purely my opinion. But I think there's a trade here that could help both the LA Kings and the Boston Bruins long-term fill positions of need. Now, we know the LA Kings this offseason looked for a starting goaltender. They didn't have the cap space to do so they signed Talbot and Riddick. They have Copley, so that's their sort of committee with LA. But I think long-term, with all those guys pending UFAs now, they're going to need a new starting goaltender. I think it's quite simple for the Kings. So my proposed trade package would be this. Now, I know a lot of people might not like this, but let me explain here. So first, it will probably not happen until the trade deadline or possibly even into next year's offseason, but the trade would be the LA Kings acquire Jeremy Swayman from the Boston Bruins in exchange for a third-round pick in either 2024 or 2025 and Philip Deneau. Now, this would be a trade that helps both sides out long-term. Now, for the LA Kings, look at their center depth, Pierre-Luc Dubois. After acquiring Dubois, they have probably the best 1-2-3 punch in the NHL of Kopitar, Dubois, and Deneau. They have a really, really good top three in LA. They do still have some really good young prospect centers. They have Akil Thomas. They have Tyler Madden. They have Alex Turcotte, who's a former 5th overall pick. They have centers that they can make do with on the third line if they were to trade at one of their top 3 centers. Now, long term, could they try and keep Deneau over the next 3 years until Kopitar retires and then put Deneau in the top 6? Yes, that's possible. But if they have so many centers already, why not move from a position of strength to a position of weakness? Deneau is a solid two-way center. He's been a top 6 center in Montreal before. I think he can fit in extremely well with the Boston Bruins. Now for LA, they get Jeremy Swayman. Swayman's in the final year of his contract that he signed through arbitration. We know that players who go through arbitration don't usually stay overly long with their team who they went to arbitration with. So I think there's a possibility the Bruins could move Swayman. Maybe not right now, but at some point they could easily move on from Swayman. He's entered the final year of his deal. I think he could get something like a 5-year deal at $6 million with the LA Kings, become their #1 starter. He could be a fantastic addition for the LA Kings. And I think Swayman as the #1 in LA would be a fantastic addition for Los Angeles. Now, for the Bruins, they will get a pick, so they get a little bit more draft capital for either this year or next year. Plus, they get Philip Deneau. Now, would they want to move Swayman? I'm not sure. That'll probably be possibly one of the things that I think could hold up a sort of deal like this. I think they like Swayman. I think they view him as a really good goaltender. So I could easily see them try and keep Swayman, maybe make this trade with Allmark. But in my eyes, if they move Swayman, they have Brendan Bussi in the minors, who I think eventually could be the starter for the Boston Bruins. And if they could sign Allmark next offseason, if he has another solid season like he did last year, to like a 1, 2, 3 year deal to keep him as the starter, if he has another fantastic year this year, I could see them go forward with the tandem of Allmark and Bussi, while they have moved Swayman for help in other areas. I think that's a possibility. Maybe they move Allmark and keep Swayman and Bussi for a possible future. I think that's a possibility. But I think if they were to try and help out some of the other areas of the team, they'll most likely have to move at least one of their goaltenders over the next year. So, going to be interesting to see, but we know that Bergeron is a fantastic two-way center. He was a really good player there. Deneau is their second-line center long-term. Time for the next 4 seasons, 3 years after this year, at $5.5 million. So definitely, I would definitely think it's a possibility in my opinion. I think this would be a trade that would help both sides. For the Kings, it will give them a young goaltender who could help their team long-term for the next few seasons as a starter that they desperately need. Even if it's moving Deneau, who's a very good second-line center, who would probably be a third-line center with the way it's set up right now, they have the prospects to replace Deneau. So, in my eyes, you can move Deneau. His $5.5 million cap hit can be used to sign Swayman. It will be a fantastic move, in my opinion, for LA. For Boston, do they really want to move Swayman? That's debatable. But if they were to move Swayman and get a solid second-line center who can be a good two-way forward for them and sort of help them replace what Bergeron used to do for them, I think it's a possibility for the Bruins too. So I really like this trade in my opinion. This would be a decent trade for both sides. It'll give the Kings a solid young goaltender who could help them for the next few seasons, be a solid guy there. It would help the Boston Bruins get another solid top 6 center. It would help them improve their center depth. Even if it does leave them a little bit dry in goaltender, they have Bussi, who I think eventually could be a solid starter. So, in my eyes, this would be a solid trade between the Kings and the Bruins. Like I said, I think could possibly work with Linus Ullmark either. So, it'll definitely be interesting to see. Deneau has trade protection too. Does Deneau want to go to Boston after playing in Montreal? Does the Bruins want to get rid of Swayman? Definitely. There'd be a lot of problems that would have to be sorted out with this deal, but I think a Deneau for Swayman deal, in my opinion, would work out fantastic for both sides. We'll give the Bruins the center they need, and we'll give the Kings, a starting goaltender that they desperately need. So definitely, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this down in the comments. Remember, just my opinion, not any rumors or anything discussing this show. This is just my opinion, so definitely, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and comments on this, as well as, do the Canadiens work out a trade to move Primeau? Do the Ottawa Senators finally sign Pinto? What sort of a contract would he get? And what do you think of all the roster moves and waiver claims that have happened over the past couple of days? Definitely love to hear your guys' thoughts down in the comments. So that's what I'm going to talk about for today. Remember to like this video, and if you really like it, remember to subscribe down below. I also do a blog talking about news, rumors, analysis, stuff like that, so definitely check that out. We've linked that in the description below. Remember to stay tuned. We're going to have a couple more videos on Thursday, finishing up our season preview series that we've been doing over the past couple of weeks. Definitely don't forget to check that out. We'll probably have another news video on Thursday as well. We're probably going to have another news video on Saturday. As usual, we continue to post Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. On top of those two things, we'll also be probably posting one more time on the weekend as well, either Friday or Sunday. Don't forget to stay tuned for Monday. I'm going to be announcing my season predictions just before the start of the season. So Monday, at some points, I will be giving my opinion on the West and Eastern Conference and what I think they will do in the season. So definitely don't forget to check that out. And remember to stay tuned for the upcoming videos. Can't wait to see you guys all. I'll see you guys soon.